What's up, Cougar Nation, and welcome again aboard the Hype Train podcast. I am your host, Joe Wheat. That's at Joe Wheat27 on Twitter. Also, lesser known fact, listed as an or on the Hype Train depth chart, along with my boys Hunter Miller and Trevor Levitt. Brethren, how we doing?
I think it goes starting co-host Joe Wheat, backup co-host Trevor Levitt, or Hunter Miller.
I don't know. Hunter,
considering the fact that
there's been some strong performances over the last 2 weeks of camp that have made me think that there is truly a competition brewing on the Hype Train pod.
We don't know who the head host is until we roll out onto the field. At least,
yeah. You guys aren't gonna find out until after week 1. So
you guys don't need to know that. You'll know it when the time comes.
But for now, we're going to run the 3-host system. All 3 guys will get some reps. We will, play this out on the field, and honestly, we'll let the fans decide. Like when the team decides who the guy is, the competition has been decided. So I guess we'll wait and see what the reviews have to say.
The opposing podcasts will determine the starting co-host moving forward. Their performance truly when the backs are against the wall. This is our week 1. And what a week 1 to start on. Like, this is the true test. This is not BYU versus SIU. This episode is USC versus Alabama. A couple seasons ago. This is Florida State, Georgia Tech. Like, this will determine the frauds and the contenders. I'm not going to pontificate on which of the fraud is.
No. Please keep going. I want to hear.
But it may be the host in the old Riley Nelson jersey with Oakley sunglasses underneath the football helmet. It might just be that guy.
So what I'm hearing here is whoever has the most simplistic 2-yard takes is DJU. That's what I'm getting from this.
There's airing it down the field, and there's slinging the ball around, and then there's running back dump offs, both on the field and in the podcast industry. Running back dump offs would be the equivalent of us being like, yeah, coaches know what they're doing. Let's trust them. Don't question their methods. BYU by 100. Go Cougs. Like that's the running back dump off podcast right there. This is not that. This is 2020 Zach Wilson, and for better or worse, might be New York Jets Zach Wilson. We're going to sling that thing around. It might be a touchdown to Dax Milne, or it might be a pick 6 going the other way. That's the beauty of the Hype Train, is you don't know which one you're going to get. It might be Denver Broncos preseason Zach Wilson. It might be Broncos versus Patriots or Jets versus Patriots Zach Wilson.
That's the arc that I'm trying to get on Hunter this year with my hot takes. Is I feel like previous seasons it's been rookie Zach Wilson versus the Patriots, and now I'm trying to put up some preseason Broncos numbers.
Assuming this episode is going on YouTube and you guys can see Hunter's drip in all of its glory. I am clearly not built for this, because my face is slowly getting more and more red as the helmet pads slowly squeeze my brain out of my ears. So I'm probably not going to be able to keep this up the entire podcast, but man, it is a sight to behold. Hunter is ready to take the field. And honestly, with the way that things are shaping up with the current depth chart, he might honestly be taking the field. We have no idea.
I might be listed as an or. I didn't get too far into the depth chart as Joe takes his helmet off. I kind of stopped by the second or the third line of ors. I might be on there. I didn't get far enough. If I would have gone like 8 deep, I think we would have gotten to, some Siale Acera or Hunter Miller there at the at the middle linebacker position. I've never seen so many oars.
Yeah, complete side note. I am now in my backup. I've fully embraced my backup role. I have the baseball cap on the sideline. I got my tablet over here. I got my clipboard over here. I'm fully ready to sustain Hunter Miller as he leads us to victory.
I've even embraced the new college football rules of having the microphone and these earbuds in the helmet.
That's so good, dude.
I'm having direct communication from those on the sideline, which is a new rule in college football. Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen this many oars since George Washington crossed the Delaware River.
Since Boys in the Boat.
Since my river rafting trip when I was a priest.
That's a good one too. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Since Nephi built the boat.
That's solid.
Found tools. Found
solid.
ore to make tools.
Yep.
Since Lewis and Clark.
Or puns. I can't think of any more. But yeah, a lot of oars. The depth chart came out today. Initial reaction. Aside from BYU quarterback, because that was listed as an oar, and I'm sure we're going to spend 100 minutes on that today. Aside from that, which was the most surprising or just the biggest surprise on the depth chart in general? Was it Harrison Taggart being listed as the sole starter there at linebacker? He was not one of the, I think, like 3 players not listed as an oar. The kind of biggest takeaway, biggest surprise. What were your initial thoughts as I take off my helmet because it is starting to hurt my head as well?
Okay, he's not built for this either.
That's why I'm 8th on the oar list.
How sarcastic are we going to be with this? Because I could give you an honest answer. I could give you a serious answer, but my honest answer is the fact that Kelly Papinga came out, and one of the few non-oars that we got was the punting situation until Kelly Papinga came out and said that they will be trying out both punters in the game on Saturday, to which I say, what the heck were the last 4 weeks of fall camp for? Like, punters, you literally just sit them on, like, we have like 8 practice fields over at BYU. Just sit them on a field, stand them at the 50-yard line, and then for 4 weeks, just count how many times they get it inside the 5-yard line. Whoever wins gets the punting job. Like, are we really going to be running out the 2-punter system? Like, I was upset when I saw all of the oars on the depth chart, but it wasn't until I heard that we are platooning punters that I officially entertained the thought that maybe it's just time to shut the football program down, because this is not a serious operation we got going on if we really have a punting competition this late into fall camp.
That's got to be a first. Like, that feels like the most easily settled position ever. And this is like middle school.
Also, like, who cares?
Yeah,
this is like, will they shank the punt or not? Like, we don't need Ryan Rico here.
This is like junior high boys at their first junior high middle school dance type indecision. Like, it's with the quarterback, it's with the punter. We've got 8 strong safeties. 8 strong safeties. Now, mind you, from what I've heard from camp, they're all playing well, and so I'm glad that we're that deep there. But the other thing that cracked me up about it is that not only are there 7 oars, but Micah Harper is listed twice on the depth chart. Like, he's an oar on one, but then he starts somewhere else. Like, you really, like, it's just like, it's a jigsaw puzzle, but it's not done. Like, the depth chart, like, the funniest thing was A-Rod, like, everyone was kind of asking him the questions about quarterback, and I don't think he sounded snarky necessarily, but his response was, well, you have the depth chart. I think my 4-year-old has handed me puzzles in better condition than this depth chart. It's just like it's just not put together. We don't know where anything goes. And it's what, 6 days before our first game. It's just one of those things where I just truly am curious what thought process has been put into this.
Well, naturally, you gotta keep things a secret. You can't let SIU know who your punter is going to be, right? Like you got to keep every competitive advantage that you can, because I'm not sure we can beat Southern Illinois if they know if it's going to be Rico, or I don't even know who the other punter is. I'm going to be honest.
Vanderhaar.
Yeah, Vanderhaar. How are we going to Southern Illinois? That's a legit toss-up game if they know that position.
You could determine the punter in 10 minutes. Like, line them up.
Literally, like we joked about rock, paper, scissors. I would not care. You could tell me that the punter was decided by rock, paper, scissors, and I would not care. Like, what's next? Is there an or next to the long snapper?
I had to check. No, there's not. Dalton Riggs, runaway. You could line them up like over the entirety of fall camp. You couldn't have just measured every single one of their punts and been like, all right, average distance and hang time is this guy.
Yeah,
like
is
Vanderhaar,
give me the stats. Give me the stats. I'll throw it in an Excel spreadsheet, and I will give you the weighted average of whoever the best punter is.
Does Vanderhaar, like, he gets an extra 8 seconds of hang time, but then Rico gets an extra 30 yards of it? Like, unless the differences are that drastic, just go out there, give them each 50 punts, and be like, you kicked it the furthest. Winner. Look, there's no need to do a platoon system for the punters. It's insanity. It's an unserious program.
There's two options here. Again, there's literally two options. Either we are so concerned with SIU knowing our next move that we literally cannot announce a single thing, or our players' feelings are just so fragile that no one can bear to hear the news that they're not actually the starter.
The only positions on the offense that are not listed as oars are left tackle, left guard, center, and right tackle.
And look, I get it. Like, wide receiver, for example, is a position that we already know who the guys are. Like, everyone with a brain who's ever watched BYU film knows it's going to be Chase Roberts, Darius Lassiter, Cody Epps. Those are going to be your top three guys. But for some reason, we have Chase Roberts listed as an or with JoJo Phillips, who has literally never he has one catch in his BYU career. Granted, it was a touchdown. Love JoJo Phillips. He's going to be awesome. He is going to play this year. He's not a co-starter with Chase Roberts unless Chase Roberts gets hurt. That is the point of the depth chart. When you go out onto the field, who is going to be that first group that is out on the field? Chase Roberts will be on that will be one of those starters. You cannot tell me that it is a serious competition between Chase Roberts and JoJo Phillips, unless, again, we are just trying to pander to JoJo Phillips' feelings, and maybe that's important. But it's insulting to our intelligence, because Chase Roberts has been in the program for 15 years. He has been here for so long. He is literally starting a Come Follow Me podcast with his teammates. Okay. Chase Roberts is going to start. What are we doing with JoJo Phillips here?
Yeah, I mean, hats off. They really leaned into it. Obviously, quarterback is an or. LJ Martin or Hinckley Ropati, Miles Davis or Hunga. I'm not even going to try to remember the first name.
Pokai Hunga.
Pokai. There's a lot more A's and U's and A's than what you just said. Strong safety is my favorite. There's 5 guys listed, and every single one of them is an or. Micah Harper or Talon Alfrey or Raider DeMooney or Crew Wakely or Ethan Slade. Now, we had a fantasy draft with some players. We obviously talked to them, what's going on. They told us straight up, Mike is the starting nickel. When they run nickel package, he'll be the safety when they're not running nickel. So that one doesn't come as a surprise. I think, we heard as well that Harrison Taggart was going to be a starter. So that's not a surprise. A lot of the defense, I think, is pretty much what was expected, right? There's no surprise that I can see. Jack Kelly, obviously, Rover, Isaiah Glasker there at Sam, Tyler Batty, John Nelson, on the line, Blake Mangelson, not a single surprise on the defense, right? Can we all agree?
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't call it a surprise, but I guess I'd call it a pleasant surprise. Tanner Wall's emergence as free safety has been, just with his limited amount of snaps from last year, what I've heard from camp, the phrase we can't take him off of the field. He's making so many plays. That to me, that's exciting. But that's definitive. Like that's like one of the first definitive things that I've heard from camp was that it's like we can't take Tanner Wall off the field, and so he's starting at free safety.
Yeah, it is funny looking at the free safety and then the strong safety one, where it's like Tanner Wall at free safety and then a couple of like new incoming freshmen.
Yeah, like Tanner Wall must have been balling.
And then strong safety is like 6 guys that all have like started and played significant time.
They're all probably going to play. Like
it's just going to be rotating.
I get the point. Like the purpose of the oars is to let the fans know that like, hey, you're going to see all of these guys on the field. I disagree that that's the purpose of a depth chart. To me, the depth chart is about establishing a clear hierarchy of who's going to be on the field.
Here's the next guy.
What they gave us is absolutely like nonsensical because like, I'm sorry, do we really need to list 5 guys at strong safety? No. Does it really matter at this point? Just put TBD. I'm fine with that.
What's funny is that punter's not even listed as an OR, despite them coming willingly offering up the information.
Well, like, sorry, we missed one.
You thought that was a lot of oars? Just wait, we got one. Here go one more for y'all.
Oh my gosh, what about Cannon Skidmore, guys? Like, how is he going to feel knowing that he is this backup, like a true backup? Poor guy. He walks into Saturday knowing his place on the field.
Miles Hall at Rovers, like, dang, I'm third behind Jack Kelly and Ace Kafusi. A couple of dogs. Like, is it?
I don't know. It's frustrating.
Answer me this. I'm throwing this out there. Does the transfer portal play any factor?
I'm sure it does.
Like, are they legitimately like, we can't list this guy as third string to start the season because then he might think about transferring?
To me, that might be as nonsensical as trying to keep secrets from SIU, because they're gonna know. Like you can't like go out and like play JoJo Phillips like 2 snaps a game at the end of the season. He's like, yo, I didn't get any playing time. And Aaron Roderick goes, No. We listed you were a co-starter. In week 1, we listed you as a co-starter. So like really, if you think about it, you did get playing time. Like you were a starter. Look, like it's right here on this piece of paper. Never mind that you played 5 snaps the entire year. You were a starter because we declared it.
I do declare.
Like that's the kind of nonsensical logic that we have going here, that it's like, okay, like really, if you're that concerned about guys entering the transfer portal, like no one is going to enter the transfer portal because they weren't on the week 1 depth chart. Like, and they can't, and they literally cannot. I am not worried about Falatau Satuala entering the transfer portal before week 4 because he was listed as an OR with Tommy Process. Like
they're using OR like it's like the players can be used as like tax write-offs. Like if we list them as OR, they can't complain later, and we get some of our money back.
Like you honestly, say that, Joe. Yeah, Dallin Holker was a real situation that happened.
But like this is such a flex by Fesi Sitake to say, look, we are so deep. I just want to start naming names. Like we are so good at wide receiver. I literally want to put everyone on the roster on this depth chart.
It's a crazy 8 names. It's a crazy 8 names. Chase Roberts, JoJo Phillips, Cody Hagan, Darius Lassiter, Keelan Marion, Tay Nakua, Cody Epps Parker, Kingston.
All dogs.
That's kind of that's a dog lineup.
Good for Tay Nakua, man. Like true freshman, just showed up into the program, like already kind of pushing for time. Sure. This is all.
He's half a spot away from an OR.
Like. I would like to reiterate that JoJo Phillips last year was listed as an OR starter with Chase Roberts last year as well. And again, played like 6 snaps the entire year. But then it's
like, what's the point? Like, why are we listing OR knowing full well that they're not going to be the starter? It really makes me more question why Tay Nakua is not an OR. Does he stink? Because it seems like anyone that's half decent is listed as an OR.
Yeah, Jackson Bowers. We listed 4 tight ends.
I'm going to go so far the other way.
We literally listed 4 tight ends, no Jackson Bowers. So like,
we listed 1,000
if they're not
defensive
on
players.
the list, they're either injured or dead. Like there's no in between.
They were if they are not on the list, they were the subject of one of Trevor's hot takes.
There are 30.
Yeah, exactly.
There are 38.
I'm going to thin that depth chart out real quick.
There are 38 defensive players listed on this depth chart.
On a 2-deep.
On a supposedly 2-deep depth chart, there are 38 players.
There are 85 scholarship players total.
And 38 of them are backups or starters on defense.
It's still not as bad as the first depth chart we got in 2021, where there were 18 positions listed and over 54 players on defense listed. My favorite position, my boy Casey Lundquist pointed this out. On that depth chart, there were position groups such as Frodo. So just the linebackers. We had the Jack linebacker, Flash linebacker, Mike linebacker, Rover linebacker, Frodo linebacker, Cinco linebacker, Nickel, Dime, because those apparently are different positions on the field. And my personal favorite is the Joker position. And the starters on the Joker position, the starters were Jerry Capisi, Dean Jones, Jason Money, and Wes Wright. None of those guys saw the field at any point in their BYU careers.
Made up a position.
So it's peak comedy to call that the Joker position because it is a joke.
It's an unserious depth chart. It's an unserious depth chart.
Like how this is like this depth chart we got was literally the cleaned up version from what we got. Like the coaches, and Hunter, you kind of made this point. It's like it feels like the coaches are laughing at us because it's either they think their opponents are like that stupid or they think we are that stupid. And I don't think our opponents are that stupid. So the only implication that's left is they don't think I'm smart. And that hurts my feelings, you guys.
Granted, they might be right. They might be right.
We're protecting feelings here. That's the whole point.
Not my feelings. They're hitting the nail on the head when it comes to this podcast. They're like, let's give them this nonsense, stir the pot. These jokers will eat it right up. And we spent 20 minutes talking about it, and I will continue to talk about it, and I'll continue to be annoyed by it, quite frankly.
So why does it matter? Like, why are we so frustrated about the oars?
In the grand scheme of things.
Well, of course it doesn't. But like, why does it bother us so much?
Well, let's go back to the texts, shall we?
Genuinely,
what was it that we said?
Like, I want to hear both of your guys' opinion, like, because it clearly bothers all three of us. And I want to hear, like, why does it bother you?
I mean, you nailed it on the head. We've been, guys like Rod Gilmore and Robert Griffin III and like other commentators have made comments about how intelligent of a fan base we are. We know when a big moment in a game is when we need to be loud for the defense, or our team's driving and we need to be dead silent. Like there's been fans that I've read tweets about that have pointed that out. And, I have probably, studied a lot more football than the average Joe just because of this, podcast. But like, it's a little insulting. Like there is content that has been made. There are things that have been done based off of the information that we keep hidden, that people let us know about, that we don't share out of respect, and it won't be used because of the way that this is being treated. Like there's hard work that's been put in that's not going to see the light because of the way that this has all been taken care of, and it feels like a little bit like a slap in the face, and that to me is what makes it difficult. Is we are not intelligent enough to be able to put, 2 and 2 together in this instance. Or that we are not intelligent enough to realize that, like, I'm not going to get too far ahead of myself because I looked up a bunch of stuff for this SIU preview that I'll talk about later, but, they don't think we're smart enough to realize that SIU, like, we could give SIU our playbook and it shouldn't matter. But yeah, they want us to think that it's prepping for that for them. And so that to me, that's what bugs me. it's just like you said, like it's just like we're stupid. It's like we're dumb.
Not announcing a quarterback is the biggest like gaslighting I've ever seen. The team knows who it is. They've told the team who it is.
Oh, and further, like Jerem Jordan said on BYU Sports Nation today that it's probably going to be Jake Retzloff. Jake Hatch said on Locked On Cougars today that he expects it to be Jake Retzloff. Coug Connect released that he expects it to be Jake Retzloff. Like every BYU insider,
I and Trevor and you expect it to be Jake Retzloff,
and I expect it to be Jake Retzloff. Like it's the worst kept secret in all of BYU fandom that it's probably going to be Jake Retzloff trotting out there. We know that now. You guys all know it. Like, and again, like this isn't even coming. Video this isn't even coming from me. Like this is coming from, again, Jerem Jordan, Jake Hatch, Mitch Harper. Like all of these guys know who it is, and they can't share it because they're under this gag order by BYU Athletics because, again, we need to keep secrets in order to beat SIU. Like, it's just, to your point, Hunter, it feels a little gaslighty, but keep going.
Crito's question of the day today was, how would you feel if Jake Retzloff is QB1? That's Ben all you need to know.
Baby. Ben Stradamus.
Jake is going to be the starter. Trevor made a video over the weekend. It was queued up. And then today they're like, well, you're not going to know until Saturday. Right? Like, it's gaslighting the entire fan base into thinking that they're not going to tell anyone when everyone really knows already. And they're trying to bill it as this, well, we don't want to give away our cards to the opponent. It's an FCS opponent. If you were playing Georgia, even then it wouldn't matter because Georgia would stomp you one way or another. But if you were playing like an actual, like if it was Utah rivalry week, then okay, I get it. Utah's not a dumb team. They're going to watch film on both quarterbacks. They're going to prepare. They're going to know which way you're leaning at the very least. Like, it doesn't make any sense to try to keep, like, it's not 2006 anymore where you can legitimately just keep it under wraps and then like try to surprise an opponent. Everyone, like, social media, word gets out, players have podcasts, like everyone is going to find out. It's like you said, it's the worst kept secret. Now, going to why I think the oars in this particular instance are especially infuriating and annoying. I don't care about the defensive ones, particularly when you start to get to the safeties. Like, different defensive packages are going to warrant different people starting, right? Like, your nickel package is going to feature Micah Harper starting at nickel. 100%. And other packages are going to feature Micah Harper starting at safety. That's why there's oars all along there. But as it pertains to some of these other positions, it is so annoying. Like Trevor talked about it. We have like sources, we're in chats, like we get news and we try to disseminate that information to our listeners without burning bridges and, backstabbing sources and people who share information with us. So oftentimes you'll hear us, flat out say things. Other times we'll allude to it. And sometimes we just don't say anything. Like, we feel that we at least have some semblance of an idea of what's going on behind the scenes at BYU as it pertains to the football team. I will say this offseason, and I think you two would agree, since we've started this podcast and probably since I've been at ESPN 960, back when I started there in 2018, this is the offseason where I was most in the dark, didn't really know what was going on. Things, information was being clouded and, would you agree? Like, this coming into this season, it was a weird offseason in terms of no one was really saying anything. No one was talking about the team. Information was pretty rare.
And is it any wonder that this has also been the least exciting, hyped offseason that we've probably ever had?
Maybe. But like on top, so for us, I feel like we're in the know. It was the least in the know I've been over the last few months, I think. Couple that with the fact that media members get 5 minutes at the end of practices. There was no spring game. The socials were like cutting every clip short, weren't showing us full things. I think, was it last year or 2 years ago, Joe? I think it was last year. They did a full like scrimmage for Cougar Club members or season ticket holders in the stadium during fall camp. Like that's when you went and you talked about the kickers. Like there's been access to the team in years prior. They didn't give fans any access, any insight into what was going on. So fans don't get a spring game. You don't get the fall scrimmage that fans can go to. The knowledge that was being disseminated through the media was at a minimum. Media members weren't privy to more than a few minutes at the tail end of practice. No one was talking about the team. Social media clips, like normally that's where at the very base you go to kind of get an idea for what's going on. Even those were lacking. So if you're put in the shoes of a common fan who doesn't have, sources, or if you're not subscribed to Coug Connect or Give 'em Hell Brigham or one of the other places that are disseminating information, like nothing about this team. Nothing. You don't know how fall camp's gone. You don't know how guys performed in spring. You haven't been able to see most of these guys in person since BYU played Oklahoma back in November. And yet you're expected to pay more money for season tickets. You're expected to join the Cougar Club and donate directly to the school. You're being asked by players and social media accounts by BYU specifically to donate to Royal Blue Collective. So they are, come to the BYU 50 things, every single event that they have, Cosmo in the park. Like you're being asked to spend your time, your energy, and most importantly, your money on this team. And you don't even know a single thing about it unless you're spending more money to subscribe to these different platforms. Like I mentioned, the Coug Connect, obviously friend of the program, Jeff Hansen does a great job with Give 'em Hell. And not only that, but then BYU gets mad at those channels. Like BYU turns around and gets mad that guys like Jake and Coug Connect or guys like Jeff are, giving information out on these Discord channels. When BYU themselves won't give fans any information, of course they're going to go wherever they can get information.
And for what purpose are they so upset? It's because we can't give away too much information to SIU. Like that's the part that, again, that's most insulting. Like Utah, sure. Like if we're trying to keep certain secrets from opponents, like actual trade secrets of like what plays we're going to run, like I totally get that. You're too deep at safety. No one cares except for the fans that do spend their time, their money to support this team, that live and breathe and die and cry and like all of these things for this team that they know nothing about. So like I got a text from a buddy today who was asking, why fans are so upset about the orders, because it does seem like such a silly thing to get worked up. And I wanted to read the text that I sent him because I'm not Hunter and can't rattle all this stuff off, spitfire off the top of my head. But I said, honestly, I think that fans just want some kind of comfort that there is a plan. I get the reasoning behind the oars, different personnel groupings, and you don't want to give away competitive advantage. But the biggest thing is fans are honestly kind of freaked out right now about whether or not the program has a plan or a direction. And when K-pop comes out and says we're running the 2-punter system, it's easy to ask 20 practices in and we don't even know who the punter is. Especially when the opponent we're trying to throw off is an FCS team, we should be able to beat no matter what. When there is no access, fans start asking, okay, what are they hiding? I think fans are just dying for any real information out of the football program that will give them hope. And when there's no spring game, no open scrimmages, or real information given in depth charts or press conferences, I think fans just kind of feel shut out a little bit because they just want to be a part of it all for more than 12 Saturdays a year. It's nice, and I'm very grateful that I have people to talk to about this, but I literally know nothing about this football team, even with all the time and money that I'd spend trying to get as close as I can to BYU football. I think there's a feeling among the fan base that's like, we want to give as little as possible, we want to give as little as possible to you guys by way of preseason insight, but please donate to NIL and the Cougar Club and buy season tickets. Like if you're an investor in a business, and you know this person, you love this person, and they come to you and say, hey, come invest in my business. Like we have a great vision. I think we're going to do great things. And you say, yes, absolutely. I know you. I love you. Like here's $1 million. And a year later, or 6 months later, you say, hey, how are things going? And they just smile and say, oh, like things are great. We're, things are moving. We got a lot of options here. Like, things look really good.
We're loving and we're learning.
We're loving and we're learning. And they say, okay, can I see the books? Like, can I see something? Can I see what you're doing? So no, it's proprietary. Can't do that. But we need more money. So like, in order to make this vision a reality, please send more money. And so you give them more money. And then they come back 6 weeks later.
Who's your CEO? It's this guy or it's this guy.
It's like, then you come back 6 weeks later and you say, hey, how's the project going? Great. We're way ahead of where we were 6 months ago. That's awesome. Can I see can I see what you're doing? Can I see the books? Can I see the progress? Nope, it's all proprietary. Like after hearing, and then when the annual review does come around and the numbers don't look great, and they have the nerve to say, well, it was because we didn't get enough money. We didn't get enough investment. Like we just didn't have enough resources to achieve our dream. Like at what point as an investor do you say, okay, let me come and watch. Like, let me come and see what you guys are doing. Let me see the business model. Let me see the plan. And as an investor, like that makes total sense in a business that like, there's not an investor in the world that makes an investment in the business without taking a peek under the hood. College football is the only sport where it is really the only thing in capitalistic America where you are expected to, again, donate your time, your energy, and all of your resources to loving something without anything in return. And right now, it just kind of feels like the program feels entitled to fan support. And I am going to support. Like, I love BYU. I will love it until the day I die. But like, it is incredibly frustrating when things seem to be at their worst in almost a decade, that this is the year that we have the least amount of access. Like when freaking Domino's went through their rebrand, like their pizza recipe was a mess. And their marketing strategy was they revamped their pizza chain. And then what they did for their marketing campaign is they said, okay, everyone, we're just going to give you all these pizzas, send pictures, try it, and we'll put you in a commercial. And that completely revamped the Domino's brand when it was at its worst. For some reason, we've like Kalani, and I love Kalani. I want him to succeed so bad. But for some reason, the decision that Kalani has decided to make is to restrict access. No spring game, no fall camp, like again, minimal fall camp videos, minimal fall camp media access, no open scrimmages, no open practices. And we're expected to come out, sell out season tickets, and just blindly support this team that we know absolutely nothing about. And that just feels like a really unfair expectation.
Joe, not only that, they took people's season tickets away.
Yeah.
They moved people's season tickets. They said, West Bleachers, this is all corporate now. You got to find new tickets. I don't care that these seats have been in your family since the 80s. And people had to give up season tickets that their families had for decades. And they increased prices. And then they turn around and they're like, you'll get information when you're good and ready. Essentially was like that was the overarching message today. It felt like was we'll tell you when we're ready to tell you. And until then, that was literally
that wasn't that was literally the message. That was literally something Kalani said. It's like, we'll give you the information when we're ready to give it. It's like, you can't keep asking for money. Like, you can't keep asking for your fans to literally bankroll your college football program and not give them anything. Like you can't expect it. Like in the NIL age, you have to give your fans something. It's why we've hitched our wagon to Cougs Connect as much as we have, because they give the fans something. They give you access to players. We literally went on, like, you could have gone on a cruise and like grappled with a Mexican street vendor with Keanu Hill and Miles Davis and fallen in love with these dudes like we have.
We played mini golf with Max Tooley, who is now on the Houston Tech. Like, it was awesome.
For the small donation of $10 a month. Like, that is that is what NIL is supposed to be. And for whatever reason, we've just decided, I don't know if it's Kalani or the athletic administration or Royal Blue or whatever, but we've decided that all fans are right now are a paycheck, and you're expected to just blindly show up and support. And that is like, That again, that's why the O's are so insulting. Is it's just like you get it when we give it, and you just have to take it. And it's like, and the sucky thing is like, I'm gonna take it. I still love BYU football so much, and I'm still gonna be equally as excited on Saturday when that team runs out onto the field. But man, it's so frustrating when we just want to love this team so much and they just refuse to let us know anything about them. And then on top of that, Kalani, again, love Kalani. He has the nerve to get frustrated with media simply asking the question that every fan is asking: who the hell is gonna play quarterback at BYU, the most important position? And we can't know because we are more concerned about confusing some school in Illinois that I have never even heard of until last week over the fans who live and breathe and die and donate everything to this program.
Hallelujah.
What are we doing?
This was the direct quote from Kalani Sitake today.
I'm sweating.
I don't think you need all the answers right now, so you'll get them when they come. That was his direct quote to a member of the media.
That is the closest that we will ever get to a physical middle finger from Kalani Sitake.
It was crazy.
And
you don't need the answers. Hey,
we've obviously
starting at quarterback. You don't need the answers. You'll find out when it happens.
We've teed off. We've teed off on this plenty, but just my cherry on top of this freaking crap Sunday is exactly what you just said at the end, Joe. Is all of a sudden, for whatever reason, we get a disgruntled response when we start talking. Like when we start going, hey, we love BYU. I'm wrong at BYU. Like the second BYU came knocking, like I had scheduled visits to Baylor, to Utah State, to Stanford, like ready to go. And when BYU called me, he said, "We're going to offer you a scholarship." This Kyle Grossharth, love that man so much. He said, "We're going to offer you a scholarship. Take some time. Call me back." I said, "Don't need to." I said, "I'm a Coug." And that was like outside of getting married and I don't know, getting baptized and my children's first like being born, one of the best moments of my life because I got to go be a Coug. And Hunter brought up the videos. I like the time and the effort that it took me to make the Jake Retzloff video. I'd spend it again. Like I'm not worried about getting that back. But I made that video as a celebration that we finally knew who the quarterback was. And I just wanted to share it with everybody else.
And Trevor had to do some digging. You know how much digging it takes to put together a 1.5-minute Jake Retzloff highlight from last season?
We want like the videos, the likes, the reposts that we've gotten from these edits that, Hunter has put on that I've made. Like, I don't care. Like, it's not about like the numbers. It's the fact that people are seeing it. And we're celebrating how awesome the defense is going to be and how great the wide receiver core is going to be. And we don't get to celebrate things because you're not letting us. And we love you so much that we're not going to reciprocate. We could just sit on this podcast for the next 2 hours and share story after story after story after story of things that we know. Some good, some bad, some ugly. But we're not going to because we care about this team too much. And and there's nothing in return.
It feels like a disservice to Jake too. Like you could announce him as the starter and have time for people to rally around Jake.
Yeah.
Like, you could have, you've limited yourself to a week, but you could have 5 days for people to talk themselves into Jake Retzloff, to rally around Jake, to say, you know what, cast your personal feelings about him aside, whether you thought he was good or not, whether you think he is the right choice or not. 5 days to be like, all that aside, 2023 is in the past. We rally around Jake Retzloff now. There's no opportunity to do that. Jake's going to run out there on Saturday, and let's say that he throws an interception on the first drive.
He's going to get booed.
He's going to get booed. People are going to boo him. People are going to boo Kalani.
Outs?
People are going to boo Aaron Roderick. They're going to start calling for Gary Bohannon immediately. They're not going to give him any sort of cushion. It's just going to be immediately, see, I told you he wasn't the guy. Put in Gary Bohannon. It's doing a disservice to your quarterback and setting him up to fail.
And it just feels like the look that we're going to get from that sideline is, well, you guys don't support us well enough. Like, we don't have the resources. You guys should just, support us no matter what. And it's like, at the end of the day, fans only know what they see. And the reason that there is so little hype going into this season is the last time we saw Jake Retzlaff and the BYU Cougars, they lost 5 straight games. The last, all 5 in completely gut-wrenching fashion in different ways. Like they created ways to lose games down the stretch there. And it cost BYU a bowl game. And you know what would probably solve that offseason hype issue? A spring game. An opportunity to see Jake Retzlaff play and show that, like, hey, he's actually pretty good. Like, he's actually improved. Like, I've been trying to talk people into the idea that, hey, Jake Retzlaff, he's actually pretty good in camp. Like, and again, I'm doing that off of very limited media availability of people I know and certain people I talk to in the building. And I'm trying to rally the troops behind Jake Retzlaff. And all they can say is 95 quarterback rating, under 50% completion percentage, more fumbles than
1-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio.
Like that, but that's all fans see. And again, you can't get frustrated with the fans and I feel like, again, in Kalani's interviews, I can tell he knows he's on the hot seat. Like, and I feel for the guy. Like, I know what it's like to have your competence questioned in the field that you have chosen. I know what it feels like to have your dream job and potentially lose it. Like, I know what that feels like, and that freaking sucks. Okay. But the route that you cannot take is to get frustrated and short and snippy with the media for asking honest questions that everyone wants to know. And these are softball questions. Like, you cannot go and answer an honest inquiry of the heart of BYU fans with, you'll get the information. Like, you don't need the information. You'll get it when we get it. Because all that says is, like, it says one of two, like, and the other thing that he said that was kind of frustrating is, we have a plan, guys, trust us. Like, okay, you just put out a depth chart with like 85 different names on it. If that's the plan, that is a garbage plan. If that's not the plan, then you've just admitted that what you put out was total bullcrap. And you just admitted it to all of us and your opponent, which is even more insulting. So it's like, it's just baffling PR decision after baffling PR decision. And Kalani needs a PR win on and off the field. Like, BYU's getting their butt kicked this offseason. Like, we're expected to win 4.5 games. We're getting our name raked through the mud on every national college football podcast, and we're doing nothing to refute it besides just wait for Saturday. And if those results are not good on Saturday, there isn't going to be another investment made at the end of the season. It's going to be time to close shop. It really is, because, again, like it or not, the current administration has done a horrible job telling the story of BYU football. Vibes are very low because BYU has refused to tell a more positive story of what they're doing because, again, they care more about secrecy than they do about building a loyal fan base. And that is frustrating as heck.
I mean, if we get a Portland State or a Sam Houston performance.
Believe when BYU tells you what they are this weekend, believe them. And again, like, I don't want to sound like an entitled fan. Like, I've been the kind of fan in the past who was scolded other fans for just saying, well, we should support blindly. I've completely come around on to the other side on this because, again, like, it is, I have come from, I guess, the privileged position of, like, knowing people who can tell me stuff. Not every fan has that. And all most fans have is what they saw last season, and all they see is 12 games a year where we're losing to UAB and we're losing to USF and we're losing to these trash teams, and they just don't see a plan. And it's like, Kalani, like, the coaching staff or whoever can say all they want, like, we don't have the resources, the donors should just give us more resources. Well, the reason they're not giving you resources is because you're not giving them a plan. and you're just telling them like, yeah, just donate the money and we'll figure it out. Well, where did that go last year?
Yeah. I mean, take a step back. Like, how am I as a fan supposed to trust that the coaching staff has a plan and has faith in, a guy like Jake Retzloff when they're still listed as an or? And because either they know, like, again, there's two options. Either they know or they don't know. And I don't know which is worse. I genuinely do not know if it's worse that they know, that they truly know, and they've made a firm decision and they genuinely think that like they need to hold that information close to the chest for the sake of gaining a competitive advantage against an FCS opponent in SIU, or that they don't know and that they're just on Saturday gonna, wake up Saturday morning and be like, you know what? All right, Jake, like everything we've heard and reading between the tea leaves is that it's the former, that they know and they're just not telling anyone. But like, how am I as a fan supposed to have any sort of confidence? Because neither of those two options instill any confidence in me. If you're trying to play silly games like that to gain an advantage over an FCS opponent, what are you going to do when Oklahoma State comes to town or when Kansas State comes to town or you go on the road to Utah? Like, if you can't announce a quarterback because you think you need that as an advantage against Southern Illinois, you don't stand a chance against some of these better P5 opponents that you're going to play. On the flip side of that, if you don't have any faith and don't know who the quarterback is, why am I going to have any faith in whoever you choose to go with at quarterback? Because you've shown me that after all of spring ball and after all of fall camp and the week leading up to the game, you don't even know if they're going to be good enough.
And especially like in years past when they actually were confident about the team that they had, they announced the starter. Like they announced, even if it was like, and this isn't abnormal, like there's a bunch of programs that haven't released a starting quarterback, but like when Zach Wilson was named the starter in 2020 after that quarterback battle with Baylor Romney, like we found out the week of the game. Like we found out a week before. When Jaron was announced as a starter, we found out a week before. We found out Keaton was the starter going into spring ball. Like those were all opportunities that BYU could have kept a competitive advantage by not releasing the name of the quarterback. But because that quarterback was the obvious choice and earned that position, they made that announcement. And so again, all we have to go off of is, okay, why aren't you doing that this time? Maybe it's because you think the quarterback situation sucks too, and you're just lying through your teeth about we feel confident that we can win with both guys. But it's like, we can talk about again, like what's important is that the players know and all that. Like I get all that, but at the same time, like the fans matter here too. The fans and that atmosphere in Lavelle Edwards Stadium, that matters. And because you have done a really piss poor job of building the hype and expectations and hope for the future of this BYU football program, the moment anything goes wrong, that stadium is going to get restless. There are going to be calls for a different quarterback. There are going to be boos because, again, the fan base does not trust you right now. And that's not their fault. You haven't done anything over the last year to earn that trust. Like, I get it. Like, I know it's incredibly frustrating. You had, you averaged 10 wins a season from 2020 to 2022. That's great. That's in the past. And right now, it does not feel like they're like those things can easily, you can try and explain those away with COVID if you want. But like right now, that's all we have is here and now. And there doesn't seem to be a plan going forward. And so how can you expect the fans to not be a little restless? And man, like the easiest way to take that, like one of the only ways BYU is going to make a bowl game this year is because of that home field advantage. And you have completely shut out the fan base, which is a very important part of that team and is a very important part of winning football games. Again, because you care more about secrecy and protecting a made up sense of competitive advantage over your fan base, like over the people that literally pay your paycheck.
At least we have the standing tables on the on the east side of the stadium that's obstructing the views of other fans.
Anyway, I don't want to talk about it anymore. I'm so frustrated.
We're gonna get a couple tweets that are like not very much hype on this.
But guys, like, Just give it 5 minutes, because I promise you, like, I still believe BYU is going to a bowl game. Like, even with all of these problems and all of these flaws, like, I'm still a believer. I still love this football program. I still believe in Kalani, and I believe that he can be the guy to take us to the promised land. But like, it's okay to be frustrated. Like, I just, it is okay to be frustrated with the complete disregard of the fan base's interests.
This podcast is the voice of the fans.
Yep.
And when the fans are hyped, no one's going to be more hyped than us. And when the fans are disgruntled and annoyed and frustrated, we are disgruntled, annoyed, and frustrated.
I just want to see Kalani. Like, I just want to see Kalani interact with the fans again, man. Like, someone made the point today that, like, I think it was Nate in our group chat, that the Kalani that was jumping around the rock at basketball games and saying he just wants to hug every BYU fan individually, that Kalani gets patience when he goes 5-7. The Kalani that says you guys will get the information when you get it gets fired after the season if he goes 5-7. Candidly, like, the one thing Kalani has going for him is his likability, and the Kalani I saw today was just not likable. And maybe that's no fault of his own. Like, I can tell he's frustrated, and that's, like, completely understandable. Again, I know a little bit of where he's coming from, but you gotta meet the fans halfway here. You really do. And right now it just feels like they're just withdrawing further and further away. And there's just this line being drawn between the football program and the fan base. And a successful football program, just that can't happen.
Yeah.
Just let us love you, BYU football.
Yeah.
I'd said
we only say this because we love you.
We want to love you, please.
I said in the podcast chat today, why couldn't I have been born in a place like Columbus, Ohio?
I'm not going that far. I still love my Cougars.
No, I mean, I do too, but it's just like, oh man, like, obviously again, there's no jumping ship, but
we're not alone. Like, half the ACC hasn't even announced their starting quarterbacks yet, and the ones that did announce their starting quarterbacks suck. So,
I mean, SMU trotted out a couple of quarterbacks to start the game against Nevada, and then ended up going with the one that was playing worse at the time, despite a come from behind victory for him. So,
speaking of, I'm gonna be really disappointed if BYU doesn't go 3-0. I really am. Like, that week 0 of college football gave me so much hope that BYU can actually be good with mid quarterback play, because, like, what is something King? I can't
Haynes
remember.
King. Haynes King is better than mediocre.
Look, Jake Retzloff can be Haynes King. I fully believe that.
If
Gary Bohannon can be whoever that quarterback was from Nevada that almost beat SMU. Both quarterbacks can be whatever quarterback that was playing for Montana State coming back against the fight.
Well, where BYU's not playing a Nick Howell defense every week, although if they were, then yes, any quarterback that they played, Cade Fennegan could be the starter and BYU would get the victory.
The best part of week 0 was I walked out of that Florida State Georgia Tech game and I said Jake Retzloff might be a better quarterback than DJ Uyunglele. That was the take that I got.
It wasn't. If Jake Retzloff can put up DJU numbers, I feel okay about this season. I really do.
I mean, Trevor asked a question like, seeing DJ play, would you rather have Bohannon and Retzloff or DJ? I think the answer was unanimously DJ. And this was amidst his terrible starting performance for Florida State.
But again, that's only because we haven't seen Jake Retzloff.
And whose fault is that, Joe?
Again, I'm telling you, we want to love you. We want to love you. We want to be hyped, and you just refuse to give us the ammunition.
The dead horse has not been beaten enough.
I mean, Trevor mentioned it last week where he was just like, yeah, this quarterback battle is close, but what if it's close not because they're both bad, but because they're both good and they both improved? I wish we could say one way or the other. Yep. There's one fact standing in the way of knowing for sure, and that is that they refuse to do a spring game. They refuse to do any sort of open scrimmages. They refuse to let fans in the stands for their fall scrimmage. And again, that this is going to be on Saturday, the first time we've seen BYU play since they lost 5 consecutive games at the tail end of last season. So
you know what? Maybe they come out and just absolutely dominate, and we feel really good about the football program. I wish I knew. I wish I could say.
That first LJ Martin breakaway run is gonna hit so different. It's gonna be great. Call it now. Actually, JK, we'll come back to this question in a second. Do we want to give like a 1 minute? Obviously, it's an FCS opponent. We don't need to get into the weeds on Southern Illinois. Does anyone want to give a 1 minute? Here's a player to watch. Here's what to expect.
Now hold on.
This is normally Trevor's time.
This is Trevor's time to shine.
I watched. We got to give a little bit of something to this, okay?
Fine, 2 minutes.
Okay. A Saluki. First of all, what the heck is that? If you look at the logo, it's a dog. But what kind of dog is it? It's a Middle Eastern dog. Show dog. Really snobby demeanor. Okay. Quick Google search brought that up for me. So in case you're wondering,
that was the first answer.
Trevor, you had 2 minutes and we went straight for the show dog with the snobby attitude.
Trevor,
and that is the analysis that you can find on the Hype Train Pod.
Hey, no, we're giving information here. Okay, we're building hype. Okay, we're giving reasons. We're giving reasons to get excited here.
Let them cook
because they're going to show up. Their mascot's a little, high and mighty, and so let's humble these guys a little bit. Okay, so Nick Hill is their head coach. He's coming into his 9th season. Offensive preview. They've got 6 returners on offense. 4 of them are from the offensive line. They lose their top 2 rushers, their best receiver. They're replacing their quarterback. And Trevor, why is that important? Well, because that quarterback was the one responsible for beating the 3 of the 4 FBS teams that they played previously. Defensively, 2023, that squad allowed 16.2 points per game. Okay, so pretty stout. That defense loses 8 starters and only retain 2 of their top 5 tacklers from that season. Secondary is their best unit. They return their strong safety and their free safety. They did add a couple of transfers from Ohio State and Florida, although based off of the Saluki depth chart breakdown, I don't know if they're actually going to play or not. So that may not matter much at all. The D-line, which for me is what I circle the most here. Some of them played meaningful snaps last year. None of them started. So the entire defensive line is brand new. I took a look at this winning 3 of their last 4 games. And I'll tell you what, if the Salukis beat BYU, then BYU will be by comparison, a horrible 2019 UMass team, a horrible 2022 Northwestern team, or an absolutely horrendous Northern Illinois team. None of those teams were good. I think we see FCS versus FBS and we go, oh, okay, so they're giant slayers. No, these teams were bad. Like, these teams were really bad. Their one loss came against the Kansas State team who lost Skylar Thompson like 5 minutes into the game. And the second Kansas State realized that they could run all over, that's what they did. And the score was a lot closer than it even indicated. Keys to the game. Southern Illinois, they like to run the football. That's what they do. Most of their receptions come out from running backs leaking out of the backfield or passes to their tight end. So if we can take care of that, BYU should have no issues there. Simply put, just like in any football game, don't turn the ball over. Like, that's the only reason they had a +5 margin in the 3 games that they won. Like, total turnovers created versus given over in those 3 games, +5 margin there. Maintain time of possession, just typical things needed to win any football game. This team is not the team that's been beating FBS teams, and those FBS teams weren't even good. So this, like Joe said earlier, this team, BYU will show you exactly who they are playing this team, because the Salukis will not beat BYU. BYU will beat BYU if that happens on Saturday.
Give us your best BYU Twitter keys to the game.
Keys to the game.
BYU Twitter edition. Not actual. You're not your actual keys to the game. Your BYU Twitter keys to the game.
8 plays of 70 yards or more. No turnovers. Actually, no. We need +4 in the turnover margin.
No turnovers. 4 takeaways. 2 of them for touchdowns. A kick return for a touchdown, and 8 sacks. If BYU and score more points than the opponent. If BYU does those 5 things,
they will win.
They can come away with a victory.
No first downs allowed.
The spread on this one is 14. That's insulting. Well, BYU, like, again, we just spent an hour railing on the program. We do know something about the BYU program on this podcast, and I expect them to be better than they were last year. I expect them to win this game. I expect them to win it handily. What's it going to take for you guys to feel good about, like, what's the score of the game that's going to make you feel good about where BYU's at?
Score in the 40s and keep SIU below 20.
I 42-14 is kind of my.
Yeah, I mean
42-17,
42-17, 45-7. Like, again, anything north of 40. That's honestly my biggest thing.
You gotta score 40.
If BYU can score north of 40, I'm feeling good. If they're scoring in the 30s, I feel and if it's obviously below 30, then we're toast.
Hot take. BYU is going to go for 450 yards of offense at least, and they're going to have more rushing yards than passing yards.
Second part, I don't think is that hot, but the first part is scorching.
450 yards of offense is scorching?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
How many times did they do 450 last year?
I don't think they did it once.
Where's the intern when you need him?
Literally not once. I think they got over 400 once.
Let's look. Fill time. This is a live
Trevor,
podcast,
what's your hot take?
And we're looking things up.
Hot take. Man, I talked super big earlier that I'm on my Zach Wilson Denver Broncos arc here, so I feel like I need a bit of a meatball for this first one. We're going to say LJ Martin, 100 yards, 2 touchdowns.
Ugh, he's already hurt. Come on.
LJ Martin, you said 1,100 yards? What did you say?
100 yards and 2 touchdowns. No. 75 yards, 2 touchdowns. That's
no. We're not going backwards.
Yes. 75 and 2.
This isn't a lukewarm.
Trevor, it's a hype train podcast. No one's going to kill you for saying 100 yards.
What are you talking about? I get blamed every year for my hot takes.
Every week.
That's true. By the way, 0 times last year did BYU have 450 yards. They had 0 times of 400 yards as well. The closest they got was 394 against Southern Utah, a game in which they scored 41 points.
It's a new year.
So that would be, yes, that is indeed scorching upon further reflection. My hot take, everyone took it. We were all going on LJ Martin. I was going to say LJ Martin 3 touchdowns. I'm going to change mine, though, now. I'm going to say BYU 3 takeaways, 1 defensive score.
Ooh, I like it.
Okay, put it back to 100, Hunter. You're right. Put it back to 100 yards. I'll stand by it.
By way of prediction, I'm going to say 42-17. I refuse to go into the weekend not thinking I'm going to come out of the weekend excited about the future of BYU football.
By the way, Trevor, I never even changed it from 100 to 75.
Good.
So.
You know me.
Yeah.
You're what, 4 rearing its head? Yeah.
Season 4. That's crazy.
Score for me, I'm going to say 41-17.
Should I say 43-17?
$1, Bob.
I'll go against the grain and I'll say 38-20. BYU covers though. They don't quite reach 40 and they give up 20. So
not year 2 of the JL defense.
Well, I mean, garbage time touchdowns, you know.
Yeah, we'll call it that. Oh, man, this was a show.
BYU plays football. on Saturday, guys. I feel like we did not spend enough time on this podcast talking about the fact that BYU is going to run out of the tunnel at LaVell Edwards Stadium to Mo Bamba. Mo Bamba is going to be starting for BYU, special guest.
Or Mark Collins.
Or maybe Eminem. We haven't decided yet. It's game week. I'm putting the helmet back on. Hold on. Oh, I forgot to unbuckle the chin strap.
Let's go! We're back!
BYU football is all the way back. All the way back. This chin strap is a pain in the butt.
Guys, it's going to be okay. Thank you for the therapy session. If you're listening to this, again, this is not our normal broadcasting. Every once in a while, we also need a little bit of therapy. But yeah, no, I'm still so freaking excited, man. I am going to wake up on Saturday morning. The sun is going to be shining. BYU is going to win by 50. Utah's going to lose to Southern Utah.
BYU football, as frustrating as it is, this was a bad idea. As frustrating as BYU football is, I will say nothing brings more joy.
It really
and
does.
Gentlemen, despite all the nonsense, it's been 0 days since our last nonsense in Provo, Utah. Boy, I'm gonna have a lot of joy on Saturday. It's gonna be the best. Excited. My grandpa gets 6 season tickets every year. He has since I think probably the 1940s. I've got to take these off. And he sent the text today of, who wants to come to the game on Saturday. And it's annually the best text I get in my life. Every game week, it's who wants to come. And just genuinely, win or lose, BYU football is the best. It's the best. Grateful to share it with the fans, the listeners, the people on Twitter, fans in the stands, YouTube boys. BYU football is all the way back, and we'll see how back they are and for how long. But by gosh, BYU football is going to play a football game this Saturday at 6 p.m.
They're going to win a football game.
And I'll be damned if I'm not going to be there, friggin' yelling my little heart out. I will not be wearing this helmet and jersey. However, I will be there screaming and cheering on the Cougs, as I will next year and the year after that and the year after that until I'm dead. So go Cougs.
You guys ready for it? I haven't been this excited for a BYU football game since last season. Let's go Cougs!
Let's go! There it is. Go Cougs, baby. Cougs by Billy.